The Golden State Warriors just drafted a deadly scoring machine in Patrick Baldwin Jr. with the 28th pick, and I'm going to be telling you 5 reasons in today's video why he's going to be the next NBA superstar. So make sure you like this video, and if you do want more Golden State Warriors content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. But let's get into the first reason, and the first reason is not only his potential, but his physical stature. So Baldwin's upside resides in what his raw profile can turn into. A 6'10" power wing with a 7'1" wingspan and a 9-foot standing reach is what the modern NBA demands. Add to that a shooting stroke that screams balance and high release, and the Warriors have a potentially promising project on their hands. This is what makes this pick a textbook case of low risk, high reward endeavor. What gives some pause, however, is how Baldwin Jr.'s shooting splits belie his fundamentals. His college sample size is incredibly small due to his injuries. Only 11 games of footage exist. But in those 11 games, Baldwin Jr. put up a concerning 34-27-74 split. His 26.6% shooting from beyond the arc came on nearly 6 attempts per game, based purely on his shot mechanics. It seems like he should have shot exponentially better, and the release is fairly quick with virtually no wasted motion. His ability to square up and set his feet properly prior to his release is a hallmark of a fundamentally sound shooter. His height advantage over a majority of defenders massively helps, turning his shot into one that is difficult to affect, let alone block. And do you want to know about another 6'10" forward that has a 7'1" wingspan and can shoot well? And that person being Kevin Durant. I see a lot of similarities between Patrick and also Kevin Durant. The same size, the same style of play. Now, he can't shoot as well as Kevin Durant, but I think that will happen over time as he continues to get used to the NBA and the style of play. But him being 6'10", being that tall, not many people can block your shot or even affect your shot, and if he gets that shot down packed, I'm telling you, he is going to be an offensive base, especially with his height, with his speed, and also with his long wingspan. So the second reason is Patrick's great ability to create a shot. Now, in his college days, although he did only played a couple of games, he was the primary creator for not only his own shot, but getting his teammates open as well. His playmaking ability is honestly amazing, and mixed out with his great scoring ability, it really does make him such an offensive juggernaut. Now, he did only play 11 games, but during his college days, he was the primary creator. Coming off ball screens and knowing types of coverages was very important, so he does have a great IQ and feeling of where the floor is and who is open. And I think there's going to be a huge, great asset to Golden State Warriors due to the fact that that's pretty much what Draymond Green does when it comes to his playmaking ability. The only difference between Draymond and Patrick is I think Patrick is probably a better scorer than Draymond. He's a bit more taller, he can move a little bit better, and being that tall at 6'10" can really have him get an open shot quite easier than Draymond Green have. So I think adding him as a power forward position is going to be really, really good. If Jordan Poole does stay in Golden State Warriors, I think them coming off the bench with Patrick and also Jordan Poole would be a great duo coming off the bench. I'm telling you, that is going to be a very offensive second-round team. So I think it's honestly great to see that he is, great on the ball, off the ball in those situations, and his scoring ability really isn't left unjudged. So that's great to see from what he can do on the court and also, off the ball. So like we talked about as well, his playmaking and passing potential is through the roof. His role within the Warriors offense may not necessitate him developing and honing his individual creation skills, but will greatly benefit the Warriors if he were to fine-tune his passing and vision to the point of becoming a valuable play connector. As we all know, the Warriors thrive on play connection, and Baldwin Jr. has already shown flashes of that. So I think that is really good to see from what he is doing. Having a mentor like Draymond Green showing him how to play make better at the power forward position is going to help him develop his game even further as much as any other rookie in this draft class. Reason number 3 why Patrick Baldwin Jr. will become a star is that he is being taught by one of the greatest teams to ever play the game. Having players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green teach you about the NBA is honestly going to benefit him more than anyone can ever imagine. I think it's honestly great for him to join a championship team. I like how, he doesn't really have the pressure that some of these other high-pick rookies have, where they need to make an impact straight away into the league. And sometimes that's hard, guys. You got to realize that these players are only 19, 20, 21 years old. They're very, very young, and the NBA is a man's game. They're built differently, they're stronger, they have higher IQ, and it is a completely different ball ball game to college. And that's why you see sometimes first draft picks don't really go so well in the NBA because they can't adjust. And sometimes you do need that teacher in your life in order to become a great NBA player. We've seen it happen time and time again, and that's definitely great to see that Patrick Baldwin Jr. can learn from the likes of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and that is going to be a huge advantage for him moving forward. And we've seen that time and time again. Jordan Poole, who was just a normal rookie, wasn't really a high draft pick. However, he's probably doing really, really well compared to a lot of his other members in his draft class, and it's great to see that. Now, when it comes to that, obviously Patrick wants to become a better three-point shooter, and there's no other person better to learn from than Stephen Curry himself. So I think Stephen Curry is definitely going to give him some tips. We also have Klay Thompson, who can teach him how to shoot better when it comes to off ball. Klay Thompson is a great spot up shooter. Steph Curry is more off the dribble, so that he can definitely learn from that. On top of that, Draymond Green, being such a great leader, Draymond Green will definitely help him become a great power forward, be a versatile power forward on offense, and do what is needed for him to fit his role properly. Reason number 4 is Patrick's great rebounding ability. Now, this is a little bit understated, but Patrick Baldwin Jr., being such a great shooter, can actually rebound the ball very well. He knows how to get to the right positions, he knows how to box out right, and even out-rebound bigger defenders or even smaller guards in certain situations. So in the McDonald's All-American Reinforce, he was averaging 7.7 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.9 assists. So it's great to see that he was getting 5 rebounds, and also playing in college, like we talked about before, 12.1 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.5 assists over 11 appearances. So 5.8 rebounds is really good to see. And like we talked about before, he is 6'10". He does have a 7'1" wingspan. So he does have a great, stature when it comes to him getting rebounds very effectively. He does really remind me of Rudy Gobert when it comes to his wingspan compared to his height. He's very, very long, which is honestly great, and it does help him not only on the defensive end, but when it comes to defending the paint. He can contest shots really well, and they don't really have enough room to actually get the shot off. So I think he's going to be a great defensive stopper, and really having him in the paint, contest shots, block shots is going to be great for the team, especially if Kevon Looney decides to leave. So, if Kevon Looney decides to leave or whether he stays, I think Patrick Baldwin Jr. can fill that gap when it comes to him coming off the bench, or if he does become a starter of, getting rebounds and also just being that defensive juggernaut. And I think that's honestly, great to see from him, that he can do all these great things in all aspects of his game. So he's not just offensively great. He does focus on defense when he can, and, he really does try hard on the defensive end. Reason number 5 is actually going to be one thing he does need to improve on, is his defensive ability. So he is looking pretty solid on the defensive end for stretches in recent years, but Baldwin has some instincts in field, but does not always rotate decisively, using his frame on the glass or change directions well against quicker forwards. His ability to become stronger on the interior or contain dribble penetration more consistently on the perimeter could determine just what kind of role he can play at the next level. He has shown the ability to use his size and discipline to hold his own in other settings, leaving some room for optimism projecting ahead. So I think this is honestly important. We have talked about great reasons about him, and I do think he is a great player, but if we do want to see him become a great player when it comes to an NBA superstar level, you need to be able to do things on both ends of the floor. That is defensively and offensively. We've seen that with Steph Curry as well. Steph Curry, being, pretty much the greatest shooter alive, has had a lot of setbacks due to his lack of defensive ability, and you can tell that this year he really did turn it up, and even the past few years he hasn't had the luxury of being able to rely on other players like Draymond or Klay to save him. He really does need to learn how to play defense, and that's what he did this year, and that's why he did win the NBA championship and finals MVP. So that the same goes with Patrick Baldwin Jr. He needs to take the accountability that he needs to get better as much as he can on the defensive end to become a really great player. But when it comes to the offensive side, I think it's great to have that down pat. Defensively, to improve defensively is pretty easy. I think you just got to be, have greater effort, be a little bit more agile when it comes to your physical abilities. So he just does need to get a little bit quicker, which can be improved. But when it comes to offensively, he is honestly very, very sound in that. And, offensive instincts is really hard to justify, or it's really hard to work on when it's just not naturally built in you. Defensively, you can become a great defender just by being more physical and, really working on your craft. So I think it's honestly great getting someone of his caliber of Patrick Baldwin Jr. that late in the draft. He did go 28th pick, so it wasn't the first round, but it's still a great pickup. So Patrick Baldwin Jr. actually also got offers from Duke, so he was supposed to go with Duke and all these other big schools, but he decided to go to Milwaukee to play under his father. So he's definitely a 5-star recruit, and I do think he is a little bit slept on because he only had 11 games in his college season, but it really is going to change because we're going to see him at full effect at Golden State Warriors. He has intended to actually play Summer League, so that will be interesting. And if you wanted to know the other picks, guys, they actually drafted Ryan Rollins, who was actually acquired in trade with the Hawks, and Gui Santos from Minas. So they got some great picks. I think the other 2 picks are probably going to go to G League, but it will be interesting to see how they go. Now, like what I talked about before, I think it is really important that he is going to be under a great team, and it is really going to help his development. He does have a lot of time on his hands to become a great player because he probably will be coming off the bench. There's really no say that he will become a starter straight away. Not like these other rookies that get drafted really, really high. They have to make an impact straight away, and that can be a lot of pressure, especially for these players. So I think that's very important, and I think it's great what they have done. So let me know down in the comments what you think of him, guys. I think it is a great pickup, and I'll be excited to see what goes on. So guys, I'll see you soon. Peace.